T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Launch Sequence Podcast. I am your host, Space Tomato, and today we've got a good little talk planned. Star Citizen has been advancing quite a bit over the last couple years, and we haven't done a new guest talk about sort of getting into that experience. So I thought I'd bring in a new creator who has been covering Star Citizen, I think, for about a year consistently now, and I wanted to have a talk about kind of where you came from, how you got into this, why you're covering the game. But also, I just discovered, folks, in talking right before the show started, we're both Halo fans, as you can see in the background of his. I moved my posters. My posters are in front now, but I still got the tattoos. So we might get a little bit off topic today, but we're going to be talking about what makes Star Citizen so interesting to people who do not normally come to MMOs, because I think we both fall in that category. So thank you, Active, for joining me, man. Before we get started, please introduce yourself to the folks.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is it's just incredible. Everyone's been so welcoming, and getting the message from you was awesome. My name's Active, or Tim. I come from Halo. I've been a full-time content creator for 11 years, so very long time. I quit a job a long time ago, made the decision to stream full-time and create content. And within that space, I've been on a few different games, but Halo primarily was my big franchise, and recently made the switch to Star Citizen, and it has been incredible. In August, I made that decision to go full-time Star Citizen, and it has been an incredible journey so far. I don't know, I just loved it. I love everything about it. So it's just been so fun kind of exploring everything. So
it's a wild switch. I gotta ask about Halo though.
Yeah.
Which Halo is the best? And am I gonna have to end this podcast?
I want so badly to troll you and say the one that I think you don't like. Halo 2 is the best by far. My community trolls me, and there was a clip where I was being sarcastic and I said, "Oh, Halo 4 is the best game ever made," and they clipped that out of context. And I know there's people that liked Halo 4, whatever. I didn't like it at all personally. I'm sorry, but there's people that clip that out of context and troll me with it. But Halo 2, by far, above and beyond, just changed my life. Honestly, that game, yeah.
Got to get sacrificed at the altar, at the foot of the Halo community every once in a while. Say something like a travesty, like Halo 5 had the best story. It's the best. Absolutely nailed it, dude.
Oh man, Halo
loved
5
the Cortana losing her mind trilogy, bro. That was top dollar. No, I actually. Were you?
I was just gonna say I make a joke that Cortana's in. Was it Hurston or Lorville? She's like standing, like it kind of looks like Cortana. You know what I'm talking about? The blue.
Oh,
hologram.
yeah. In New Babbage.
Changed jobs. Yeah, she changed jobs. That's so funny. But anyway, sorry.
That is pretty funny. She actually the voice actor for that character streams the game a lot. She does a lot of the content for Star Citizen as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's how things go. So it was kind of the same sort of story. She was doing acting. She got into the game, introduced herself to the community. Freaking the hug of death got her to like start playing the game, streaming the game, and formed a community out of that. Now she does big streaming as well. But like that has happened so many times with so many different people in Star Citizen, just because it's fueled by passion.
I will say that I am so passionate. Like I've never been on fire for something like this. Like we were talking a little bit about MMOs and like Halo and how they differ, whatever. This game just brings everything together for me, and I think that's what makes me the most passionate about it. It's a great game. Like I said before the show, rose tinted glasses, but I absolutely love it. It's just incredible.
I often think of the quote when you saw the ring where was it dumbstruck, blinded by its majesty.
Yes.
It's the same way.
That's how I feel.
Like the prophets are always talking about. Yeah, it's. I was gonna say earlier. I feel like in the same vein as what we're talking about today, Halo got some people to switch over to RTS games with Halo Wars because it just ended up being a pretty good real-time strategy game for being some kind of a console real-time strategy released off an FPS game that was supposed to be real-time. It was cool. And
Yeah.
I feel like if you find the right fiction and the right stories and the right characters, you can get people to jump genres like that.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, with that, like there's a big core audience for Halo Wars, like a massive audience for Halo Wars that want another one like ASAP. And like you said, you know, that's all it takes is to, you know, like you said, have a good story and people will swap. No doubt
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. In that vein, what brought you to Star Citizen eventually? I know you've followed it for a long time, but eventually you did make the jump over to making content for it. What got you? Like, there must have been some kind of a slow shift. You started playing it, then you realized you could make content for it. How did that go?
Yeah, so I think the huge jump was, of course, the 2024 CitizenCon. We all know how much was showcased here, and obviously things have changed since then, which is I think good because there's a lot of promises there and a lot of big, just you know, big updates to what they're working on in 1.0 and the vision and all that. That was when it all started. It was 2024 at that CitizenCon, watching that, and then I started to play a little bit that January. I got a new PC, started to play a little bit, dabble a little bit, went back to like Halo and kind of, you know, did a little bit of Marathon beta because I was involved with it, with
Oh
Marathon.
yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
we
So,
need to talk about that at some point. Yeah.
yeah. So I did a little bit of that. Gosh, I just realized like I went back to Halo and it's rough because I'm in the competitive space. So like I'm a high ranking mouse and keyboard player on Halo Infinite or was. And so I played pros every day. These guys are getting salaries to play the game, and you know it's just like sweaty gameplay. And I'm getting old, man. Like I cannot be doing that anymore and like keeping up. So I
It
was getting very
also
frustrated.
it also gets kind of out of vogue to insult people's mothers once they're like at the grandmother age. You can't talk trash like that anymore.
So true, so true. So like yeah, it's just like too sweaty for me. So I realized I wasn't being myself on stream, wasn't being myself with content. The content was dwindling, and so I had to talk with someone of my community who's been a mod for a long time. And literally, I just said, hey, I absolutely love Star Citizen. I want to make the switch, but I'm scared. Those are my exact words. And he said, were you scared 11 years ago as well when you quit your job to be a full-time content creator? And that was the moment it clicked for me. And I said, you know what? Like, I believe in this game enough. The future looks bright. I'm doing it. Like, I love it. I'm doing it. So August of last year, I just literally dropped everything, made a new, like, this channel has been around for a little while because like I said, I dabbled before, but
Mhm.
went full on. And yeah, I've
And
been here since.
so but at that point you were already playing, right? Like
A little bit,
you were
yes.
pretty
Yes.
into it. So what
Yeah.
what was starting to pull you over?
Definitely, I would say the large scale events were the big thing, the scale of the game, but like the Apex Valacar, and like we had a big event with that with my community where I have a movie, but it was on the channel, but it was like a huge thing where players came and it was very dramatic. The
Yeah.
Hathor mining missions, those were, in my opinion, the big pull. Like those were the moments I would say that really just pulled everything together and just said, "This is it. This is it. 100%. This is it. This is cool." So I think those events were the game changer for me.
You
Yeah.
were you were really enjoying the community aspect of it.
Yes, absolutely. You know, doing it with the community, you know, failing because we did with the community.
A lot of
It
failing,
was
dude.
it was cool. It was really cool. So that was the shift right there. Those events were awesome, and doing it with the community was awesome. So
That's interesting because it was wildly different for last year, right? You're naming off Hathor, the Valacar, the things that
mhm.
they added that were content additions that were just very much outside of the realm of Star Citizen in prior years. But you were playing in 2024. Do you remember what was going on at that point? Was there any gameplay that actually interested you, or was that kind of a time where you were still watching?
Yeah, still watching a little bit. When I dabbled in that time, like towards like after the 2024 CitizenCon, I think what pulled me there was the scale, and it still does today, by the way. The scale. Like, I'm not joking. Every day I get on that game, I go in third person, I look at my ship, I look at the atmosphere and all of that. And it just every day I say, this game is beautiful. There's always like the chat like trolls me about it. I say it every single day. And it just never ceases to amaze me how amazing it looks, and it's just getting better and better, which is crazy. You know, every single Vulcan update they do, it just looks better and better. So yeah, I mean,
It's you're gonna find that you feel crazy saying that over time, because for two reasons. One is like no game really is in development long enough for you to like see major parts of your life come and go, and you're still like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great when it finally gets here. Like I'm looking at the best thing actually. The best thing is to go and look at the vertical slice of Squadron 42 from 2017
yep,
and then watch the gameplay that came out last year. Or God, my years are so weird now. I think it was 2024.
yeah,
And the difference is crazy because when 2017's vertical slice came out, that was a period of time when people were like, holy crap, this looks great. Squadron 42 is going to come out in the next couple of years and it's going to look amazing. And it's just crazy to see that like before the game came out, it has jumped like 3 graphical generations.
yeah.
And so it makes you feel both crazy for having gone through that process, but also it makes you feel a little bit crazy for constantly looking at the same game and being like, oh, holy this looks good. And people are just like, dude, are you delusional? You've been saying that for 8 years. Like, yeah, I know it keeps going.
It does. It keeps getting better. I did actually watch the vertical slice. I have this community member. His name is Anon, and he's just a, I don't know. He was a former Crytek dev. But he doesn't work at CAG or anything. But he just he goes all the way back, and he knows a lot of stuff. And so he always has me watch like the old stuff. So I watched the vertical slice, and yeah, seeing that and the difference, I can't imagine for you going through that in real time. Like, you know, it's obviously been years, but it's just insane.
Time.
That jump is nuts, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, it just looks better and better every single year.
I'm hoping that their last like flash bang before the game comes out is like just release the new version of that, just so we could have a side by side
Yes.
comparison.
Yes, that would be so incredible, man. Oh gosh, Squadron 42 is going to be a game changer. Oh man, I've talked about it so much, but I am so excited.
Well, that's actually especially for somebody who's coming from a first person shooter.
Yeah.
Probably a lot like myself. It's these people. I'm sorry, guys. Can't go in podcast episode without me saying something about Halo. This one's on him, okay?
It's my fault. I'm sorry.
Blame him for this. Look at his background, all right? I wasn't even on my mind.
My shirt, like everything.
This green was totally not in any way an homage to Master Chief John. As somebody who's used to shooting space aliens and getting space blood and crazy space AI ladies trying to extinct your space species, why would you come to an MMO? Or rather, actually, no, that's not the angle I want. Squadron 42 seems like the more, like obvious choice to bring you over. Is that really what got your attention? Or was it?
I mean, no. So like when it comes to MMOs, I dabbled, but like there's an MMO that I played back in the day a lot, and it has a lot of core memories. It's called Ultima Online. Gosh, don't look it up. It is so old. But
Ultima Online, man. No, don't age me like that, dude. Come on. I know. I don't play MMOs, but I do my research.
Yeah. So I know Salty Mike. Obviously he's a lot into Ultima Online as well. It was a great MMO. And so throughout my life, I had these little boxes. That's what my friends would call them. The MMO box and the FPS box. The MMO box was very tiny. Never really got into it. It was just like, oh, this is honestly, I would just play it when I was like really bored or just like, I don't know, wanted to waste time. Never really. So it was a little box. But what kind of crossed them over is having an FPS and an MMO together. And I think like having the sweatiness of like Halo, for instance, with the ship fighting, like that to me, learning about all that was huge because just understanding the skill gap in flying a ship and how good some of these pilots are that have thousands of hours, insane. And then you have the MMO aspect where it's just a massive sandbox where you can do your own thing. And you talked about RTSs, like I know it's kind of a stretch. I'm sorry, but like base building is kind of like an RTS. When we get
Dude,
to
not a
build our
stretch at all. Yeah,
okay,
that's spot
good.
on.
I just want to make sure I'm spot on, but like it's kind of an RTS. You're basically you have to like strategically place things. Dude, there's every genre in this game. It's incredible, and
Yeah.
so that's what really got me. Is like I don't need to have boxes anymore. I put the boxes together now, and I've just got my dream game, and it's perfect. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Like the Cheesecake Factory of games. You're just, what am I
yes,
in the
dude.
mood for today?
Yes, exactly, dude, exactly.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Actually, I'm working on a video for the Daymar Rally right now, which
Mm,
I don't know if you followed that,
yes,
but
yeah, a little bit.
an amazing event. And every time I think about it, one of the main things that comes back to my mind is I think it was the end of 2023. I was like covering the race and I was interviewing some folks right after the race. And I finished up with the interview with them. So like I said bye and we were still in the voice chat together so I could hear them. And one of them hits up the other. He's like, "Hey man, what are you doing after this?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go and drop my chip off over here." He's like, "Oh, well, dude, I'm gonna go do some mining. You wanna hop in with me?" He's like, "Yeah." And so they just flew off and started doing mining. And I'm like you can just
That's
like, it doesn't have to
awesome.
be racing. Like, you could have just finished, like you're saying, some sweaty, bloody fights with just like the most intense arena style combat, and then
Yep.
be all done and just be like, "Y'all
Eh,
want to go catch the sunset, dude? You want like share a
dude.
freaking bottle of recycled water and watch the sunset
Yeah,
on Bloom?"
dude. It's so cool. Oh man, we're not gonna get. I mean, maybe you want to get into a VoIP or whatever. Such an important aspect of the game, in my opinion, when it comes to the role play. But like, the 890 jump was like the first, like, that casual experience for me where I was like, I can go on this ship and just chill with 20 of my friends and we can just like travel together. Like,
Yeah,
and like obviously a lot of the systems aren't in place, like whatever. But it's just really cool. Like, I love that. And like you said, there's that dynamic. You just change instantly. And again, that's everything to me, especially as a content creator. You can make content about anything. Like
yeah,
it's so cool.
yeah. There is a group, freaking bless them, really cool, Stellar Eagle Alliance. They're great folks. If you ever get a chance to go on their experience cruise, do it.
Okay.
It's like what you say. They will put you on an 890 jump, VIP experience, the whole boarding situation. There will be a
Wow.
butler. They have like
Dude.
there's a freaking intercom over the top. So like while you're walking around, it'll be the little dung dung dung. Little somebody will come over
Dude.
the top and tell you what you're seeing out the side. It's like
I
literally a
love that.
luxury cruise, and people will be like, "Oh, this is dumb. It's role play. Nobody really like that's not. It's not gonna matter." But people will pay money for it. I know. I did. I paid
Yep.
AUEC to get people in my org to go do it.
Yep.
People love to host it, and the sites and things that you can go see when that happens, like they put in the work to find the most beautiful sites in this game. You
That's
can
so cool,
find
dude.
solar eclipses, you can find all kinds of weird phenomena because you know
Wow.
that's there. And like
That's cool.
it's such a natural way for all this stuff to come together. And
Mhm.
I think it's exactly the energy you're talking about.
Oh man, that I didn't know about that. First off, that is the cool. I'm gonna have to do that. But like, yeah, I hear that a lot too. RP doesn't matter, but like people forget how big our GTA RP was. Not to bring
Yeah.
GTA into the conversation, but it's massive. People like doing that. And if you think about Star Citizen as a game, this is actually something I was thinking about creating something on in the future. But if you think about Star Citizen as a game compared to GTA, there's a lot more potential here for that, right? There's so much potential here for that, and I think a lot of people will flock over when it's all said and done. So yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they've noticed that,
Mhm.
and there's a very big uh, a draw to meet that. Star Citizen used to be viewed as being a very simulated, very like hardcore kind of. If you die, there's a lot of worry, and they still have this system where death is supposed to matter. But I think everybody can kind of see that they're going to lean more in the forgiving way because they do want more and more people to come in and do that kind of RP, live in space, do what you want to do, and not always be worried about every little thing that might happen.
Right. Right.
That's
I
a
I
big that's going to be a big split in the community. over time.
Yeah, I Death of a Spaceman. I just learned about that too, and I was like, "What is this?" And I'm not against it. I think if they were to stick to their old, morals on the or whatever their old vision,
Mhm.
I think that there is an audience for that. But see, like again, CIG has a big decision to make. Like, how do you do that? Like Tarkov has a great audience where it's like very hardcore, and that works, for the most part. Um, but that balance is tough. I don't know. Yeah, like I said the pre-show, I don't envy them at all because
Mhm.
you know with the game in development for this long, it's just decisions are going to have to start being made, and some people are going to walk away.
Well, that's something I think is pretty interesting to hear everybody's opinion on is loss and risk, and that kind of aspect is supposed to be pretty important in this game.
Yeah.
Uh, you're an arena shooter guy coming from Halo, but you did mention Tarkov just now. Obviously,
Mhm.
there's a big spectrum of risk in shooters between those two titles. Where do you stand when it comes to how much you want people to pay for making bad choices?
I think you should pay, but that's the problem. Is I run into a lot of people of all different skill levels, right? And there's the casual dad who, will play for 1 to 2 hours after work and they're done. They don't have time to get good or
Yeah.
like do difficult content, right?
Yeah.
So I want them to be rewarded. But at the same time, if you put the time in and you're good enough to be able to perform, I think you should be rewarded with other people's loss as well. So again, it's like I don't envy the balance because there has to be that middle ground balance where you know um you have those really casual players, but you also have the hardcore players, and you have to appeal to them both. I think I mean, you can go one direction, but I don't think that's ever worked. We've seen many games that are hardcore only that don't work and kind of shift. New World started as a hardcore MMO, shifted. I tested it way back when it was full loot and all that. They shifted very quickly. I don't know, like it's hard, but for me personally, was your question.
Mhm.
I like the full loot. Having tier zero item recovery is killing me. It's killing me not being in a gown when I die. I'm gonna be honest. Um,
You're a fan of the med gown.
yes, I am a fan of losing my stuff because it's just so. It's just that feeling is so grand, and I think we're gonna get that back in crafting with the quality and stuff, right? I think like you get this high quality item, it's gonna be in your
Dude,
bag. You
you
still
gotta
lose
be
that.
careful, man. Some pirate is gonna clip you saying that, and then they're gonna find you in like 2 years and kill you, and then play that
Oh,
over the microphone.
yeah.
Be like, what did you say?
That would be the longest like meme ever. That would be amazing. I would
Yeah, it would
applaud
be.
that, man.
Yeah, dedication.
Yeah. But yeah, that there has to be a balance there. And honestly, I'm sorry, but like that question, it's tough, and I'm sure it's tough for you as well. Like, what do they do? Like, how do they do that? And tier one item recovery is apparently like a button you press, and your stuff comes back if you pay for insurance on it. If the money sink is good enough, I'm okay with that. Like that's cool. But again, that dad that plays for an hour goes out, gets killed by a certain org that briefs me every day. We're not gonna talk about them, but then he has, that's it. He's done. He loses everything, and then he's in trouble, and that's his night. There's got to be some game there too for him somehow. I don't know
Yeah,
how, but
this is I think that this is one of the more interesting questions to grapple with as people in an MMO. And since we both don't necessarily come from MMOs,
right.
it's a funny conversation to have. Actually, going back to you mentioned that like back in the day, you would play Ultima as kind of like
Mhm.
your little pocket of MMO fun if you wanted
Yeah.
it. Mine was RuneScape. So
Okay.
I actually, yeah, I did do a little bit of RuneScape. It wasn't like I didn't play it. Okay, I logged in, walked around in the beginning area, and like wondered what the heck was going on, kind of. And then I did the same thing with like Fantasy Star Online. And then I did the same thing with Eve Online. And I think I mentioned to you, like, I got into Eve and I thought I was early or I thought I was late. So I bounced out.
Mhm.
Like, I
Yeah.
just bounced off MMOs as a kid. But I do totally get you with that. Like, it was a place for like the social chill when you didn't want to get into the battles. And
Yeah.
I look at how an MMO is supposed to work as both a social space, because it is very much a social space, and also a game space. And it has to
Mhm.
balance social and competitive and hierarchical based systems.
Yes.
And you have to intertwine them. And then on top of that, Star Citizen's trying to, like you said, include so many different types of games: shooters, miners, salvagers. And in reality, combat is really the only place where people are like in true danger. You know, you can compete with somebody in mining, but it's not zero sum. You guys can both crack two different rocks and get everything from those rocks.
Right.
And so part of me is like, most of this game, it shouldn't be too difficult to reward people for their time. But then the people who don't have much time to play will look at the cool stuff that the people who do have time to play get, and they say, I want access to that. So
yeah,
it's hard to tell somebody I'm sorry, but you can't because you might not have the time or the skill or whatever it takes to get that stuff.
Exactly. And you have to be able to say that. And some people are not going to be happy with that. You know, some people are going to walk away, and that's kind of the shift that they have to make. You know, like I was saying before, so many people don't know about Death of a Spaceman. And I just found a video on it, you know, that I'm going to watch or whatever, and kind of start to learn a little bit more about it. But I think a lot of people are going to be shocked when they find out what that is, and that there is permadeath at some point. But like you said, maybe there's a shift that happens. Maybe you're right. Maybe things don't stay the same as they were. Things have changed many times, I'm sure you've seen, and that I haven't seen in this game. So maybe a shift happens there. But this is a decision they have to make, and it's not an easy one, because a lot of your top backers are the people that don't have time because they're too busy making money right there. That's why they can afford, you know, the ships and stuff. That's why they can, you know, when you don't have a lot of time, you can, you know, go to the pledge, support the development, and then get something cool that you can have fun with for the hour that you play, you know?
Yeah. They're gonna get hit with what I like to call the Star Citizen effect, where all of their original backers ended up growing up and getting too many responsibilities, and so now they're busy, which is going to give CIG this kind of lag of 10 to 15 years where they're like, those people are checked out, but then they're going to get this huge wave of retirees coming in to to play Star Citizen for the last quarter of life.
Yep, I say that all the time. I say I will be in my retirement home playing this game, and then when I pass, the kids will get my inheritance, and it will be my entire fleet. You can have it. It's you know, split it between you two. I don't care who gets the Aurora and who gets the whatever the biggest ship I have at that time is, the Galaxy or whatever. Like whatever it is, like you split it between yourselves. But you know, it's all yours. Do
it's all on the will. My my original plot on Hurston, when I'm on my deathbed, my grandchildren's children's gonna be crowded around the bed, like asking me, "Who's getting the plot on Hurston?" No, like so we don't care about the car. I think Death of a Spaceman is overblown. I think the way that they set it up, it's easy to refer to it as permadeath. Like I even refer to it as permadeath, but the way they've set it up has given them so much wiggle room that they can be like, you don't actually lose your real character until you've died 25 times. I'm not saying that's what they'll do, but they can do that. They've also put in little bits where you can get lives back, you know, while you're progressing. So that's an easy way to progress. And then the last thing is they have said in the past that they really want us to get downed more. Like they want it to be, you don't actually die as much, you get downed more. I think a big reason why that's such a disconnect there is because NPCs can't heal us. Yeah. So like if you went into a bunker and you went down, you're probably going to backspace because most people don't think the medical beacon's going to work or somebody's going to show up. But if you knew an NPC could pick you up in like 20 seconds, then you could just press that button. And I think those kinds of little things would make the idea of Death of a Spaceman a lot easier to palate.
Yeah, I think that's the right word. I think that's the right word to use. And I agree. I think that's a really good point. And that's like the shifts that they can make. Like I said, I've worked with lots of companies. A lot of people are not going to like that I'm saying this. But I think CIG is very organized in how they do things. Like obviously things have changed over the years. Obviously. But the road, I know. But like there's no game that has I don't know how accurate the roadmap is. Again, this is like, I just want to make clear, this is like 1 year of experience here, like from what I've seen, and things I think have shifted. I don't know if you would agree with that as of recent.
You could say shift, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like seeing the, everything on the roadmap and be like, okay, this is what we're looking forward to in 1.0. This is what's coming in that time, and just getting updates on what people are working on. No game does that I've worked with before. Like
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've never seen a company showcase their entire earnings every single day and every month and every year. I've never seen that. I mean, there's a lot of things they do that I like. There's also things that, some marketing practices that I'm not a big fan of. At the same time, they got to make money. It is what it is. But yeah, I like that they kind of leave things open like that. Like you said, not to veer off topic too much, where, you can change this a little bit if you want, to make it, apply to the new vision, whatever that may be.
There's definitely, you don't make $1 billion in crowdfunding without both being pretty open about kind of what you're doing with it, but also about doing some questionable things to make money. Like they do some things that are actually pretty good. If you bought a ship 10 years ago, you could refund it today for store credit to buy something else if you want. Not a bad deal. But at the same time, like things like not letting the moth and the mole use the same skin. They literally, CIG is the best at burning the goodwill they're making as they go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes it's frustrating to see.
I think a lot of people are, I get a lot of like comments and people in the chat and stuff that talk about the different things they're frustrated with. And I think that's been one of the big strong points is like, okay, why is it a different chassis? Like, why? You know what I mean? Why couldn't it be this, and I don't even know the answer to that, but it stinks. Like, even if it's a different chassis, like giving your community that, I feel like that $7.50 skin and just kind of making a new one for the new chassis and letting it kind of cross over somehow, I think is goodwill, but I've heard a lot over the years, like Banu Merchantman owners that are still waiting. I'm sure there's a lot of them. I've heard everything under the sun. I've heard everything under the. Are you?
Oh
one of
my
those?
God, dude! No,
Okay.
dude. I've not ever spent that much money on a ship. No, that's but that story is crazy, dude, because of the way that it was. It started to research. Do you know how that happened?
No, I don't know.
It was sold as a concept back whenever it was sold. I think 2014, maybe 2013. And then it was just mostly quiet for a while, as were most of the ships from that time period. And a lot of the ships, it's like you had to see what they had in mind for it at least before you could even imagine they were going to make it. Some of them they put in too early, like the Reclaimer, but at least with the Reclaimer, you could see it has a claw. It has some like tracked reams. It's going to salvage. But the Banu Merchantman, it was like, what the heck are they going to do with this? So it wasn't until they started to be like, oh, we're working on it. They showed us some white box, a little bit of early art.
Okay.
The devs started to bring it into Star Citizen Live. They got into the engine. They were walking around inside of it. They showed us some of the detailed modeling they were doing. They were getting like into the gray box, right? The colors were getting applied. Animations were being done. People were starting to get hyped. They rolled it out at CitizenCon. It was like, this was going to be a big showcase, sometime in the next couple of years for most people. And then the team that was working on it got poached by the company working on Star Atlas. At least that is the rumor. This is don't sue me. I don't know if that's 100% how it. I know that some of the people who were working on it definitely did go over there.
Wow.
In general, there was a little bit of a shakeup in the ship team at that time, but there was a big drop off in the amount of people working on the ship team, and the Banu Merchantman got shelved. And honestly, I think that's for the best. If it had come out, it would have needed a huge rework at some point in the future. But yeah, man, it was crazy because people were getting so excited for it after so long of waiting, and then it just disappeared.
I had no idea about any. I just hear people complain about it. See, like this is the interesting part about my position. I love my position because I can hear all this and like learn everything. I had no idea about that. I had no idea that it was gonna come out, and because immediately, like from what I understand about it, immediately what I think about the Banu Merchantman, like I'm like, how are you going to do this? Like, this is going to be griefer central. Like there's going to, how are you going to it's going to get attacked by like massive orgs. And then where does the loot that's being sold go? Like, I don't know. another one of those things that I don't envy them.
It's a crazy, yeah. Dude. It's hard to reconcile with that because this is one of the things I say about the quantum simulation in Tony Z. It's like, and the bounty hunting system sounds incredible, and it sounds doable. But in addition to everything else, I don't know. You know, it's and that's why I think for most people, it is good to set your expectations lower than what has been said. That sounds like a terrible thing to say about a game. And honestly, I think that is a bit of a sore spot on Star Citizen and on CIG's record. And I think that's a reality that everybody needs to be a little bit truthful with. Like, what has been said about these things in the past may not end up coming to fruition. Anybody who buys into this project should assume that they could lose their money and all of this folds up. That's that you got to be realistic about that kind of thing. But it's it can be a bit frustrating long term. I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but basically just the fact that, like, it's not always going to be perfect. It's not going to go smoothly, and things will change, and whatever they have to do to make it actually release is what we're going to get, and it might not be what they've said. But I mean, hopefully it's good.
Yeah, I hope it's at least the 1.0 presentation is good. It's a good, like, foundation. I hope at least what's in there is going to happen. But like you said, there's a lot, like the Quanta thing. That viewer that I had Anon, he made me watch that, and it was very boring because I am not, like, I'm not stupid, but I'm not, intellectual enough to, like, sit there and listen to that for an hour. And it seemed cool, but it seemed too. The scope is just so large there, and then you add that to the large scope that is already Star Citizen. It's just a lot. Like, it's a lot, and yeah, it's something that I think about too. Is like, what will make it? They talked about the dynamic server meshing, quasi dynamic server meshing. I guess is what they're calling it. So, like, I agree with you. I think, like, making sure that you don't expect too much, keep your expectations lower, I think is really smart, because then you're not disappointed, and you just kind of have a baseline for, like I said, my baseline is 1.0, and I would assume a lot of the stuff is making it. And then, of course, even if you go post that, I think everything they've talked about recently, like, they've shifted how they talk about things now. It's not all like sunshine and rainbows and looks amazing. It's like, what's coming this year. And I think that's pretty good for me too. Like, my biggest shift is crafting and the new inventory. That's my big shift for this game, and that's where I'm gonna be very excited, and I'll probably put a lot more hours in when I have those.
Same. Yeah. I can literally feel myself getting drawn more into the game just from the tech preview we've done. My kind of, like, focus on what I'm doing in the game has changed over the last 2 weeks. It's crazy. I'm really excited for that stuff.
Very.
One of the things that you mentioned there was how they are at this point where they're communicating a little differently. And you're spot on. The CTO basically handles 70% of their messaging throughout the year now when it comes to, like, the big topics. Besides that, they'll bring on, like, heads of narrative and and, like, the senior developers on the actual pillars, like Torsten. He did the engineering stuff at the end of last year. So, like, they've certainly gotten to the point where they're not saying as much from many different places, and I think that's helped them control their communication more.
Yeah.
Besides that, like, the concept ship sales have kind of stopped for the most part, and the game itself, as you've acknowledged, is starting to get more kind of narrative content and stuff. It's looking different than it used to. How do you think they can get through to the rest of the player base that is true, though? Because everybody outside of the community is going to be operating on the same knowledge they've always had, and you're somebody who is willing to not do that and look into it. What is it that you did that you think they need to do to get other people to do?
So I always think that word of mouth is a big deal. So, like, let's say Summit, like, a friend of mine, he did Halo with me for a little bit. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a streamer on Twitch.
Yeah.
He came and played Star Citizen for a little while, and like if he was to come on, for instance, see these systems change and stuff like that, and they are foundationally good, then he would then tell his friends, and then the people that watch him would tell their friends, and word of mouth would happen. But for word of mouth to happen, you have to have a good foundation. So what does CIG need to do? Like, I feel like after this year or during this year, I feel like there has to be there just has to be I don't want to go back into the playability things. I know we had that last year, and I feel like it's better. Like I've seeing the moments I played and then playing a little last year and stuff like that. Like it's definitely better, and there's more to do, like we talked about. But I feel like after this year, like I think things need to be stamped in, and they're just I don't know. There needs to be the quality of life needs to go up. Like inventory is great. You said it the same way I said it. It's incredible, and it's going to change the way I play the game as well. Stuff like that has to come in stable and just have a foundation for players that where they don't fall through elevators and stuff that has been happening for 12 years. Like I said before, I don't envy you guys. I'm so sorry. Like I'm sure it's been very tumultuous the entire time. And it's been way worse than it is now. But I think if they keep hammering on that stuff, then word of mouth will happen. But again, you can't have those negatives, like you said. You losing the will of the community. You can't have the parts where you say the ship's skins are different. Just give them the $7.50 skin on the other ship. Like, just do it. Lose a bit of money. It is what it is. They need to make money, but they also need to get that good grace back, in a sense.
It's crazy. It sounds like you're saying that they need to just finish the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think everything this year, and so I make this conversation all the time. Squadron 42 is releasing, supposedly, unless something happens, whatever, it's releasing this year. It's supposed to release just this year, 2026. And I'm sure you'll get tons of comments to say, yeah, right, never happening, whatever. I understand. But if it does, you're going to have a mass amount of people that are into a single player sci-fi game that are going to get through it, and they're going to want to continue the story. They're going to want to continue playing in this universe. They're going to want that, right? If they don't hammer down the PU, they're going to lose a lot of money, and that's just kind of how it is. So like that's what I've always said is I think that I don't know what happens internally, but I would assume a lot of the devs have shifted over. I don't know, and I think if they can just start to continue what they're doing at a little bit of a faster pace, yeah, I think we'll be good.
You sound just like a Star Citizen backer, dude.
Yeah,
you're fitting right in there.
I try to be positive, but I also I understand the frustration is there, and with a lot of people
be a little faster.
Yeah, right, exactly right. Like Nav, Nav. Oh my word, Nav. I actually tilt over Nav every single stream, and it's like this big laughing fest in my chat. Like I hate the Nav system. Like stuff like that. New players are not going to want to do that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, so they used to be really, really bad at responding to stuff like that. Because they were just so focused on getting the tech into the game. And then 4.0 hit, and they kind of sat back and started to, like you said, last year they added things that made it feel a little bit more playable. And they're finding a little bit of a midpoint now, which is nice because they're still doing the tech preview and testing all that stuff out. Luckily, that means that the live game isn't stable. I think that they're onto something there. But I do think that they're in a rough spot, like you said, because what many people are starting, myself, well, I say many people, maybe it's just me, maybe everybody was already aware of this, but I forgot that people, when they see a trailer for a game, the first thing that they try to do is find a way to play either that game or something closely connected to it, right? Right. As soon as people saw the new Fable shown off over the last month, I think it was, they probably saw a spike in old Fable downloads. When people go and watch the Fallout show, they play the Fallout game. That's how it goes. Yes. I forgot that's a thing. So when they release a Squadron 42 trailer, we're all like, yeah, start the marketing. Go, let's go. And if they had started their marketing in December for Squadron 42, and then they got that rush.
Oh boy.
When 4.6 dropped, they'd be screwed. And so we all keep thinking they need to be ready for when Squadron 42 releases. but
Yeah.
but they need to be ready before when the marketing starts, and that's like got to be in the next 3 months.
Has to be, right? Yeah. I mean, it has to be
So
soon. Uh,
yeah, that is a tight deadline right now.
like yeah, so is that maybe you can help me on this one, because I've been saying this, so hopefully I'm right, because I've been saying this every single day, as in my argument. The most of the development was on Squadron, correct, for like the past, whatever amount of years. Like if they have 1100 developers, like 80% of those were on Squadron, I would assume, like around whatever, like most of them. Is that correct?
I would not assume that,
Okay.
just because. So they have definitely put more effort in this squadron, but we don't know just how much.
Okay.
What we do know is that up until 2023, they were purposefully sacrificing funds that were supposed to go to squadron. Well, it's funny to say they were sacrificing squadron funds to fix Star Citizen stuff. That's the way they put it on their
Okay.
financial report. I think most Star Citizen backers would have a different opinion of the wording there, but um, up until then, they, I guess, were like not putting as much into Squadron as they thought they could. So after
Oh,
that,
okay.
actually more started to go into it. And I think it's only until maybe the last 12 months, they probably would say, since it's been feature complete, um, it seems it's all just a freaking mess of communication. But I do think
Mm,
that it's more so over the last like 6 months that people have started moving over to the PU more.
okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's the argument I've always used, is like, okay, building MMO, they need, obviously dev power is really important. So like having that shift come over, things will start to happen. I've made a lot of hype videos and stuff talking about, yeah, this is the year, because I truly do think, like, even if the game is a little better than it is right now, okay, with crafting and inventory,
Hmm.
I think it's going to be awesome. Like, and I know that's a low bar, but like you said, it's important to set your expectations lower. Um, and that's what I've done. And because, like, the whole crafting thing with the quality and stuff like that, loot goblin is my thing I do when I'm not PvPing. Like, I love to just loot goblin. And when I see something that's like 1,000 quality, I know how excited I'm going to be. Like, I'm excited for that, and the crafting portion of it as well. So, yeah, I still think this is a big year, but those two are going to be important. Like the inventory, it was
Hmm.
good and they did great with that. Crafting is the next one. Like that's got to be that's a big system. That's got to be hammered home, I think, really tightly. So
Yeah. All right, you ready to potentially get a lot of hate?
you know what? I'm used to it. 11 years of this. Send it over.
I got a minefield for you, dude, and it's not
Yeah.
exclusive to Star Citizen. All
Okay.
right, here we go. PvP versus PvE.
Oh
As
man.
as a Halo player,
Mhm.
as a kind of person who wants to get into the game to go shooty shoot things, um, do you feel it's reasonable to separate that gameplay completely, or is that the kind of thing that you would like to see,
Ooh.
able to happen in the same place all the time?
Oh gosh. Okay. So this is where we get into the instancing conversation, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Um, and that's kind of like, so I think there should be opportunities to have PvP at all times. So like with instancing, I worry that that's going to be a crutch. I hope it's not, but I worry about too much instancing. Um, but if someone goes into an instance and does Siege of Orison, for instance, I think you allow them to have that PVE, right? Or whatever, where it's
Mhm.
just a group of people that go into that instance and finish that. Because I think, having an instance like they talked about allows for a lot more. It does. Like the lore and cinematics or whatever you want to do, it allows for a lot more and it's really exciting. But when they're done getting their loot, they have to go home. And I think that's where the PvP comes into play. And you're right. This is a minefield because no one's going to like that answer. And that's where CIG has to say, like, okay, how do we balance the instancing? Like, because orgs are going to be waiting outside for PvP for them to be done so they can loot them. How do you do that? So it's very difficult. I am a big PvP guy. I love PvP, but I also think that the casual audience is very important for the growth of this game. It is very important,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, that's the balance you have is you have the casual PvE section, but there's got to be a way for loss to happen. There has to be.
Yeah.
Um, in my opinion. I don't know what
This
you
is,
think.
dude, it's such a wide reaching topic. I had like 6 questions came to my mind as you were saying that. First one I want to
Mhm.
ask is, if even let's say orgs weren't outside. Let's say that
Okay.
players weren't a problem. It wasn't PvP. What if it was just PvE? What if it was the same level of danger, the same risk of taking that stuff back home, the same possibility of running into danger when you leave your instance, but it was all game controlled? Do you think people would view it the same way? How do you think the response to that would be different?
I think the PvE enjoyers would love that. And I've heard a little bit about that, like pirates, PvE pirates, like, doing that and like that happening. That's cool. And I think PvE players would enjoy that. It's just the the difficulty of it is the question there, and them scaling that. I think that would be pretty easy. I'm okay with that. Because there are, again, there's that big balance, right? There are a lot of PvP events. There are a lot of them, right? There's the Hathor, Apex Valkyr. I'm sure the Rock Cracker is going to be another one. There's a lot of like PvP events where PvPers can have their fun. Pyro is supposed to be, it's empty, but it's supposed to be a PvP hub where a lot of the good quality stuff is, right? So you have that type of like place for PvPers. So I think, having people have their spots in the universe is good. And because of how big Star Citizen is, I think there's enough room for both to thrive on their own, in my opinion.
Do you think that hmm, do you think that people are it's the unpredictability of the players and not necessarily the danger itself that people are scared of?
Um, I guess so. I think that yeah, I mean, the PvP being unpredictable is definitely a scare. But like I I try to insert myself into the PvE mind. I've always been PvP. I've always been like arena, like you said, arena shooter, competitive, this and that. I've kind of veered away from that as I get older. But I would say that the unpredictability and like just I don't know, the risk of losing something to someone you don't know is there. But I like that personally. Like I
Yeah.
think it's cool to, oh no, I didn't know there was a quantum snare and oh boy, like my heart's racing. That's cool to me. Like that rush is
Sure.
awesome.
Mhm.
Um and there are ways to, if you're a PvE player, there are ways to kind of mitigate the damage a PvP player can cause or like a quantum snare can cause. If you're running cargo, we're gonna have a social features soon that are gonna allow you to add some pilots to your friends list, and on the note you can put hire for escort. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's ways to avoid that as a PvE player. It's just going to be a money dump, and that's kind of how it goes. You talked about playing Eve. I wish I was, or I knew more about Eve, because I think from what I hear from a lot of people, Eve does it right with a lot of these things. I don't
Mhm.
know, but yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a tough one.
it is a tough one, and the big shift that they've gone through with Star Citizen is that they wanted it to originally be a bunch of instances where you could potentially guide your way through these instances and almost never run into other players,
Mhm.
to then wanting it to be an open environment where everything is kind of geographically cordoned off instead of by instances, to now a sort of mixture between the two. But I end up constantly having this conversation in my head of, is this about the risk that PvP brings? Is it about the humiliation of it being another player? Is it about the loss of the stuff? Because there's a psychological problem that CIG has to solve here. They want there to be a possibility of piracy. They
Mhm.
want there to be both gameplay for pirates, gameplay for victims, and the ability for both to have successful chances. That means they need to have PvE pirates and PvE victims as well. But
Right.
it also means that the game, they've got to find a way for there to be a feeling of danger that is consistent between players and NPCs, I think. Because if they want to say that Terra is a very safe system and you're not going to get attacked there if you're doing your mining and cargo hauling, so beginners can go and stay there, And then they want to say that pyro is very dangerous. There's going to be a disconnect if you go into pyro and you run into a very, very easy NPC and you go back home and you tell everyone, pyro's simple, guys. It's not that
Yeah.
bad. Then people come in and suddenly it's not an NPC, it's a player. There's got to be like, there can't be a disconnect with who you're finding in what places.
That's a really good point. And yeah, you talked about the unpredictability. That's something that's like really well said. You know, the difficulty of the PvE, and then how many hours did that player put in? You can tell when someone's put in 3,000 hours. I've been, you know, training and playing with some incredible players. White Saltine is one of them. He's trained me in like the pilot aspect of the game, and there are some incredible players out there. So if you're just like going around the outside of Stanton, and obviously they talked about the security being less on the outside, right? I'm trying to keep up with the research. It's tough, but like when security actually comes into the game and you get help from NPCs if someone's committing a crime or something, on the outside it's going to take them a while to get to you or whatever. I don't know if that's still planned, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difficulty of that player? Is he like 2,000 hours in, and is he gonna have an easy time killing you and then getting away from the NPCs? Yeah, that's how do they balance that? That's a tough one too. It's like you know, I guess with security, the best way they can is security still like, is that still like something that's planned?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it's supposed to work, man. It's so much of this game is supposed to be based around security being a deterrent. Right now, nobody cares if they do a crime. You could
exactly
go on a murder spree, and like the worst thing that happens to you is I guess I'm done for the day. I'll just head to jail. Like it's not that scary, dude. Have you ever? I mean, we've all played games and been in combat situations where you're genuinely scared, right? Most of the time, you're like. You're either towering over the NPCs, feeling like a god, doing your thing, you know, doing little crouch jumps, headshotting folks, 360 no scope, all the things.
Yeah.
Then there are times when you get into an area and you're legitimately like, okay, I cannot step out of cover here. I will get messed up. They need that in Star Citizen so badly.
Do you know where I saw that recently? The inventory tech preview. Obviously, this is the problem. I was on a server with like 10 people because the server was or something, right? And I went to the one of the distribution centers, and dude, the NPCs weren't like instantly headshot you every time like they were bugged previously. But they were so good. Like if you peeked even a little, you're getting shot. They went behind cover. They weren't desyncing around. And again, this is like a 12-player server out of 700 or whatever it was. So obviously, like, but how do they get that consistent in the verse right now? Because right now, if you have a bad server, your NPCs are not doing anything. They're just running around, like, you know, desyncing everywhere. So yeah, that's a tough one. Like, it's the server, the dynamic server mesh, I guess, is the answer. Is it? I don't know. Like, it's always been
the kind of the idea of Star Citizen's main problem has always been that their servers can't run all the stuff. So server meshing has always been understood as kind of the main way to alleviate that stress, and static definitely helped. Holy crap, it did a load of difference. But the idea that they can actually have these servers spin themselves up and down and resize and all that would go even further. Yeah. I hope that someday we can see potentially 8 to 10 servers running a single star system. I don't know if that's their plan. I don't know what they want to do, but the hope is that they keep diving deeper into dynamic and we get some actual good performance consistently, because we need that, and we need it in space, and we need it in like trade lanes and everywhere. It's crazy. You can get away with anything.
With how many entities are in the game. I always worry about that. Everything's physicalized, and that makes it great. That I love that part of it. Like, again, it's the immersion that really pulls me in. And I know that's Chris Roberts' like vision is immersion cinematic. I get it. But at the same time, like, this is where that instancing thing is kind of scaring me a little, is like, how much instancing do you do now where I'm not gonna, you know, it's not gonna be that open world that I once, you know, fell in love with. And you know, I'm not sure what their goals are. I've tried to do research, like I said, but there's so much to do. So like I think servers are the biggest problem, and I think you've said this. I'm sure. I'm sure that everyone watching has said this. when this game works, it is the best game ever. When it doesn't, it's the worst game ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's that very large dynamic there. And I hope Quasi is the start of that. I wasn't blown away by the talk about quasi server meshing. Like, I was like hoping that dynamic was coming this year, but they put Quasi in there, and I was like, okay, maybe we're having some difficulties. Maybe this is just the start. But yeah, like you said, 10 servers per star system is like, that would be awesome. Like, it's important. If the rush of Squadron 42 and the players that come off of that, you have to be ready for that. Like,
Yeah.
there are gonna be a lot of them, and I hope they are.
That's gonna be pretty wild.
Yeah.
Let's see, what I'm really interested in hearing, kind of coming at this from a more of a normal gamer point of view.
Yeah.
It's really strange when you've been in Star Citizen for a long time, you kind of forget what it's like to follow normal games that don't tell you all this stuff, or that if you find out about it, then 2 years later you're probably playing it. What has been like the biggest differences in following this game, or even covering this game, versus other games you've been a fan of in the past?
Differences, I would say, I know, again, you laughed the last time I said this, you're gonna laugh again. Their organization, for the most part, I know there's so much that's wrong, I know, but I've dealt with Halo, and this is nothing against the Halo devs, I love them too, but CIG is very organized comparatively to them. I've worked with Bungie as well. Bungie's pretty good. So I think in terms of differences of that, I think that organization is good. And the thing that lacks with all of these companies is transparency. We talked about that. Like, it's just tough to do so because of, whatever constraints they have. There's always 10 meetings that you have to have to see if you can say one thing. And it's like, that always plagues the any game in any community. But in terms of differences, I would say the biggest one is what it can be. I see the future, and I am excited about that. And again, we're talking like even near future inventory crafting. I am genuinely so excited about just those two. So just knowing that I have so much to look forward to, and knowing that the future has so much, opposed to where, in Halo, for instance, there wasn't really much to look forward to. It was just kind of like, okay, we have this, this is kind of cool, new campaign or remake or whatever coming, cool, awesome. So I think that's been the biggest difference for me, is like looking forward and seeing that.
Okay. Yeah. It's nice. I don't think I've really followed any game where a company shares as much as they do. But then I also reconcile that with that I don't follow any game that can sell stuff like this. So I feel like it's a give and take. Like, people always talk about how much money they make, how they keep taking all this money and all this stuff, how people are being duped. But I do think that it's a direct response to the fact, an effect of the fact that they do talk that much and share all those things, for as much trouble as that does get them into.
Yes, lots of trouble. Someone's got to, maybe you or anyone, got to make something. Maybe you've made it already, where we compare, like, oh, they said this here, and then this is how it's changed. And I'm sure there's a lot of those that you've been through. Like, I can't imagine like how much has changed. From what I understand, there was automatic landings and 90 POIs across 100 systems or something like that planned at the beginning. That's nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could play that game. I don't think I could.
It was going to be kind of like Star Wars Outlaws is. Like a mix between Star Wars Outlaws and Starfield is the way that it was going to play. It was quite a different idea. But yeah, the whole situation of basically going to one or two places on each planet was just such a different concept. And that's a big thing that I think people miss. This is probably something that happens in a lot of games development. They hit a point where the guys that came over from Crytek, one of them in their free time, just like with the VR stuff, really in his own passion time, he was like, "Hey, I kind of figured out Planet Tech here," and they were like, "Oh." So they sort of rallied around it and they made it work. And then they came back and they were like, "Hey, this offers us a completely different approach to what we wanted to do with planets." So they
Right.
kind of reconcepted the game from there. It's not it's not great. It might not. You could call it bad management and bad project Like you don't necessarily want to shift stuff when you're that deep in. But the
Yeah.
fact is that they did, and I think a lot of people miss that. It was essentially it was like what happened to Prey. I don't think a lot of people know that there was supposed to be a Prey sequel, and it was
Oh,
advertised, and then it was dropped almost immediately after being advertised, and then 4 years later, we got the actual Prey follow
oh.
up, and it was a completely different game. And it's like, it's that doesn't mean that it was a terrible game. It just ended up going through that process, and that's hard to learn about in a game's history when it's 14 years long.
You don't see, and I always use GTA 6 as an example. I'm sure everyone's gonna, give me crap for that. I know. Like so many memes. Like let's just not even use GTA 6 in general. Other games don't let you see the development, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like Michael Jordan, for instance, is probably a bad example. I'm really bad at analogies, so bear with me. He's the best basketball player in the world, right? He's always been. He's my goat. But like we didn't see his struggles. We didn't see that he got dropped from his high school basketball team. We didn't see how many failures he had, and then he became the best basketball player in the world. I mean, it's kind of a bad example, but just you don't see the process in a lot of these things, and people don't really want to, But with open development, you're going to see those, and I think I try to be, for the most part, understanding. But again, I'm new, and I still don't have that history and all of that. And I've given you props. I think you're a great balance between someone who's been around a long time and has hope and positivity, but also criticisms, which are understandable. And you're very real about what you say. And I think that's important to have that balance. But yeah, I've just been one that I try to understand that it's something we just normally don't get to see, and we get to see this. And I think that if you look at it like that, it's beautiful, because one day we'll see what the end result is, and some of you might not like it, some people might like it, but at the end of the day, they'll come to a conclusion on what the vision completes to, and I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, sorry, just
No, I
writing some notes here that you are equating Chris Roberts to Michael Jordan. That one's on your
is that the thumbnail?
that one's on
Michael
your record
Jordan?
now.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh
Just
man,
completely take it out. Um,
yeah, it's
no, but
funny.
you are right though. The ability to see it makes a huge difference. I actually wondered to myself if games like, imagine if Elder Scrolls 6 was in the same situation and we were seeing its development this whole time.
Mm.
Do you
Oh,
think that people would have more or less respect for the game? Would they be more or less excited about it? Like what would the reality be like if a game like GTA 6 or Elder Scrolls 6 went through the same development model?
they would deal with the same stuff. I think that people would be upset. Why did you buff this troll so much? Why is he so strong? And I thought we were getting this class in the game. Like they would lose respect because there's so many changes that happen. And like I said, I went to Bungie offices. With the marathon, that new game that's coming, really cool, like awesome. And under NDA with them, but like something I can say is, they went through a lot of changes and those changes all took lots of meetings that involved us, for our opinion, and they've had internal meetings that involved just them. And I mean, there's been so many changes through the development, and when you're exposed to that, you're like, what is going on? Why are all these changes happening? But I made a good example earlier. Like, I personally, maybe other people disagree. I don't like the game that Star Citizen was backed as, or was started as, I'm sorry, with one system, automatic landings. I like the open world and the vastness of it now. And we don't get 100 star systems, but I'd rather this way personally. Um, but that being said, I'm sure there's things in that vision that I would have liked to come to what it is now, but at the end of the day, we will have to see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be, man. I'm along for the ride. I think a lot of people ask like why I've been okay this whole time.
Yeah, are you okay?
the
Blink
way that I
twice.
the way that came out sounds so much fun. People constantly ask me, "Are you okay?" Yeah, no. People will ask like, "How have you been able to just like cover this and stay in it for so long?" Um, and I think it for as much as I've celebrated the development and how what it's becoming, at the end of the day, I've just been interested in a cool space game.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
really not that complicated. My first like real truly passionate space or video game experience ever, I think, was Halo Combat Evolved. Fighting my
Ah.
way out of the Pillar of Autumn
Oh,
and
yes.
like opening up onto that land and just like realizing I have a whole story ahead of me. I don't know what's going on, but I'm on a mysterious world or space or thing. Something's going on. A spaceship crashed, and I need to find a way out of here.
Yeah.
That like unlocked the penultimate sort of scenario. And I was just obsessed with space games. And I don't care really that much what it is. I like Mass Effect. I like
Hmm.
Outer Wilds. I like Homeworld. I like Command and Conquer. Like you could just come up with a different space-based sort of lore and you could grab me with it because it's about telling the story and allowing you to just experience it in cool ways. So Star Citizen doesn't have to be any one thing for me. And I think
Hmm.
that's true for a lot of folks. I think that's actually part of what CIG has done such a good job of latching on for their marketing is just letting people imagine whatever it is they want it to be and they sell you ships based off of that. But in reality, I think a lot of people are kind of cool with that. Like just want to go mine some cool space rocks and stuff.
Yes. What's really cool, dude? I knew we were gonna get into Halo, but that when you crashed and you walked outside and saw the ring and you looked up and saw that Banshee fly above you,
Ooh,
that was my moment too, dude. I'm
yeah.
not joking. And I got that moment again in Star Citizen without any lore or, I don't know much about the lore. I need to learn more so I can get more involved. But like that, I've had moments like that in Star Citizen where I'm like, wow, like, and I haven't had that since Halo 1. It's been so many years. And Star Citizen gave me that feeling again. The Apex Valakar and like the music and all of that stuff with that.
Hmm.
The mining mission, knowing the laser is going through the ground and everyone that's in the area can see that. And
That is
like,
so cool.
yeah, like
It's
it
so
is.
cool.
There's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. And I get, like I said, I get memed on a lot, but I've been in the industry too long to really care. Like I'm just enjoying myself, and I am in the same boat. I don't care. I just want to. I want them to continue to succeed, and I hope they have a big job on their hands, and it's probably really stressful. None of them sit back there and say, "We're gonna release this bugged moth today. I can't wait to see the community react." Like none of them do that.
Yeah, get him.
Right. None of them do that. I truly think they want to make people happy, and that's what we need right now in today's world. We need somewhere to escape and just have a good time. And I think Star Citizen is going to provide that. And I hope they do. And I'll be here for the ride as well. Just a tiny bit later than you, but yeah, I love it. I love it.
I've got all right, I've got two more questions for you. One is a little prediction I put everybody through that comes on the show. But before that, I want to
Yeah.
finish off with I think something everybody is probably predicting and really related to just this last question we were still talking about. But as somebody who had that moment in Halo Combat Evolved as well, and you've seen the Squadron 42 gameplay demo, do you see any sort of a connection or a like a parallel that can draw in other Halo players, and what would be the thing that you point out to them that maybe would interest them in that game?
Um, I feel like the Squadron lore is similar in a lot of ways. We talked about this off stream. I don't think like I might not be making the connection correctly, but Jordan stuff and all of that, that's the PU. But like when it comes to Squadron, the vast universe that is Star Citizen, and the fact that we're finally going to see that with Squadron, we're going to see the lore in real time, and like it's going to inject you like the Matrix into the lore that is Star Citizen. And if you watch that 1 hour gameplay prelude, right? I think you're like anyone that, you know, and I've been trying to convert Halo people Space Tomato for like months now. I've been trying. I got a couple
Give
of them.
him some time, man. Give him some time.
I got a couple of them, and I watched one of them try the game for the first time, and it was so incredible how many bugs he went through that I just brush off every day. It was so nuts. Anyway, sorry, veering off topic here, but yeah, I think that that vast universe and the lore of it all, you can really just get lost. There's so much, and there are content creators. Astropub is one of them, really good at the lore side of things. Like, but like, I think Squadron as a game is going to bring that to the forefront and really inject you into the world, just like Halo did. And it's again vast. It's the space is so large. Like, dude, Squadron is, I can't wait, man. I said this on stream. I don't like single player games very much personally. Okay. But this is the first single player game I'm going to 100% in my life. I'm 37 years old. So like,
All right.
is the first one that I'm going to invest a lot of time in, because I truly think it's going to be that good. So
I do think it's going to be quite interesting. And I think since its inception, it's leaned more and more towards FPS gameplay than ship gameplay. So I think that Halo players will really enjoy that. But there's, if there was one thing that I wish had happened in my childhood, it would have been that Bungie had taken Halo, the universe, and made something more long term and fitting for us to be like. I think a lot of the reason the book series for Halo has done so well is because it lets you see the rest of the fiction, you know, outside of the Master Chief. You get to see how the military works, how corporations work, how civilian life works. And that's what we're getting from the MMO, from Star Citizen and Squadron. It's exactly what you want from a game if you like the lore. Yes,
it is. See, my partner, she watches, or she reads all the books, and she knows more about the lore of Halo than I do because of reading all the books. And yeah, they go into all of that. And there's, again, you're right about that, and that's something that I will be upset about forever. Is that Bungie had everything, and unfortunately, going through things with Microsoft, they let it go or whatever, and that's okay. But just Halo, the universe, had so much potential, and it still does. Halo Studios is doing their thing, but it would have been so cool to see it in this scope. And I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I pretend I'm a Spartan every day I play Star Citizen. I am the Spartan. So
Bro, some of the helmets look pretty infinite in their design.
They do,
right?
Yeah, they do. Yep.
There's a little bit of crossover there.
A little bit. It's really cool though. Excited, very excited. I got to learn more about the lore though. I'm slacking on that part. Lore is a good way to really inject you into the game. So I gotta learn more.
Well, Astropub's a freaking fantastic source for the lore, dude. I'll have to. We'll have to all get together and have him put you through a boot camp.
Yes, please, please. Yeah.
All right, man. So the last thing that I'm going to put you through for the day is a little prediction on what you think is going to be something big happening in Star Citizen that's got you really excited, something that you might really be looking forward to, say, in the next 3 to 6 months, something we'll check back in on when you come on the show again.
I'm going to say crafting. I have to. I'm sorry. I have to say crafting.
But that's an easy one. That we know about that.
It's got to be a different one.
It's got to be a wild card.
Okay,
something that the audience can potentially call you out on and laugh at you next time.
So a prediction of something that a wild card prediction of something. Oh, I don't know. I have to really think about that one. That one's a tough one. So are we talking just things that are that'll potentially happen in the game by the
something
end of
that
the
might
year?
come out, like a feature or some kind of content.
I'm gonna say base building comes out by the end of the year. At least in a tech preview, I'll go there.
Okay,
maybe. Yeah, all right, that would be cool because we haven't heard much about it, right? Like stamped in for this year. We haven't unless
No.
I'm crazy. Okay.
No.
So-
We actually, it's a very, very quiet topic. So that's a good one.
Yeah, base
Okay.
building. That's going to be incredible. So hopefully tech preview by the end of the year. That's my prediction. That'd be great. I have another crazy one, but you will get a lot of engagement if I say my prediction, my other one. But,
You got to save one for next time.
yeah, we will save that one for next time. But
So I feel
yes.
like you were a little strategic here. You gave me a prediction that I can't prove false until the end of the year. So like you could just come on a couple more shows and be like, yeah, same one. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
I'm still good.
Yep.
I see you,
Absolutely.
dude.
I like that.
I see you.
I like that. Yeah, be safe.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this talk, dude. It's been a great first chat about the game and look into what drew you to it. Really, I always like to ask people like in depth where they're coming from because this game just brings people from all over the place. And for being an MMO or an MMO in the making, I feel like it does it a little differently. In fact, to the point where a lot of times this game is not considered in the conversation of MMOs. You ever notice that? Like when people were talking about Ashes of Creation, a lot of folks would be like, this was the only MMO the only new
Yeah.
MMO that might come out. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a couple other games there, but I'm also just like, is a Star Citizen is still it's funny because it actually comes in the conversation. They're like, this was the only MMO that might come out. Man, it's crazy. This went the same way as Star Citizen. And I'm like, I can't, bro. What is it? It's not considered like that. And I think that really sets it apart.
Yeah, I by the end of the year, I really hope that I don't think it's going to happen, but the dream is that that all heals because there is such a I don't know, just a rift in like media with this game and all of that. It's going to take a lot to heal all that. And regardless if it's like fabricated or not, I'm sure the minute we hit 1 billion, there will be videos that will say that we did not release the game yet and we've hit 1 billion. But anyway, yeah, I hope that people start, hearing about it. And I think again, when Squadron comes out and they see the game outside of a server and local, I think they're gonna get excited. Hopefully, so we'll see.
Yeah, 2 big highlights this year. One is the battlecruiser concept ship. That's gonna get a whole bunch of attention, and then the second is gonna be crossing 1 billion. Those 2 things are gonna be lightning rods.
They are really are excited for those.
All right, man. Before you go, can you let everybody know where they can find your own content?
Yeah. So I'm active in the verse on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm active with 2 E's because active was taken. That's where I do my content every day, 5 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, and then YouTube. I want to get to uploading daily, but currently like only once every 3 days or so. So yeah, that's where they can find.
Once every 3 days is incredible.
Yeah.
Cheers, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me for chatting about this. I look forward to we gotta try and hop in game at some point.
Dude,
see if
yes.
we can go Spartan together.
Yes.
Gotta find like the most Spartan looking armor and see if we can get a group together that just is like red team.
I love that, dude. Yeah, I still am looking for that like real Spartan hitting armor. I'm still looking for that one that like I will never take off, but I haven't found it yet.
Give us Mjolnir CIG.
Yes.
You can spell it backwards to avoid getting in trouble or something.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, man. Thank you again for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And this has been amazing. And shout out to the Space Tomato community. You guys are awesome. Everyone in the Star Citizen community is awesome. Thank you for having me. This has been awesome. Appreciate you.
Of course, dude. And thank you everybody for watching or listening. Of course, if you're on YouTube and you don't like the YouTube stuff, read ads because I don't either. We do audio podcasts, and actually I think Spotify now asks for the video too. So if you have Apple, Google, Pocket Cast, Amazon, wherever you listen to Amazon, do people might use that. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can check us out there. Listen to me in your ears so you don't have to watch my embarrassing face as I stumble through my outro. Thank you guys for joining for this week. I hope you enjoyed this conversation and got some good info and entertainment. I will see you all in the next one.